Welcome back. Commitment 2021 coverage. KCRA3 and our partners at the San Francisco Chronicle held a debate for California's special recall election. Several candidates are looking to replace Governor Newsom, and they joined us last night. Governor Newsom's campaign says he's not participating in the debates at all. We did speak to Kevin Kiley, though, Democrat Kevin Paffrath, Kevin Faulconer, and John Cox. This morning, we're getting some analysis on what we heard from the candidates. And Alexei Koseff is a state capitol reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle, and he was a moderator in the debate last night. He's joining us now to break down some of the highlights, some fact checking. You guys have done a lot of work. Great job on the debate last night. Thanks for joining this morning.
Good to be here. Thanks.
So it was an hour debate. You covered a lot of ground, from wildfires, the homeless crisis, every issue under the sun in the Golden State. What's the biggest takeaway for you?
Well, I think the thing that I was really watching for, and I think a lot of other people who've been covering this race were watching for, was how Kevin Paffrath was going to come across. We've had a couple of debates so far, but this is the first where the Democrat was on stage with these several leading Republicans, and it was unclear kind of how he would come across, what impression he would make to voters. Democrats in the race have really been looking for someone to rally around, and I'm not sure that at the end of the day, what Kevin Paffrath was offering is going to be the thing that really brings Democratic voters to him. He had a lot of really creative, perhaps eccentric ideas, including building a pipeline all the way from the Mississippi River to California to bring water, sending a mask, an N95 mask to every voter in California. So, that sales pitch of being a man with plans certainly came across. It's just unclear whether Democratic voters will like those plans.
Yeah, some might say he didn't come across as a Democrat at all, or Republican, kind of just an outlier in the political spectrum, but I'll leave that there. One of his other more lofty goals was ending homelessness in the Golden State in 60 days.
Yeah, and he has proposed using the National Guard to essentially force every homeless person in California into large-scale emergency homeless shelters that he would spring up within just a few months and then fund, for just a couple of dollars a day per person. I mean, it's a wildly ambitious and perhaps unrealistic plan for how to deal with the crisis, but it certainly reflects the fact that homelessness remains one of the issues that is at the top of voters' concerns. When you look at public polling in California, homelessness is nearly always mentioned as one of, if not the biggest problem that California faces. And, it's been a big emphasis in this race. Other candidates, including John Cox and Kevin Faulconer, who were there last night as well, have also put a really big emphasis on cleaning up encampments, forcing people into treatment, which is very controversial, and creating this kind of right to shelter in which you build more shelter beds to get people off the street. So in that sense, he's not that far out of step with the kinds of criticisms and plans that have been out there discussed.
Alexei, let's talk about the two people that were not at the debate stage last night, most notably Governor Newsom himself, who did not want to be part of the debate, and then Larry Elder, which is polling as the front runner on the Republican side.
That's right. Yeah, Governor Newsom has declined, 4 debate invitations so far, at least. And, it makes sense in some way for him to sort of try and keep himself out of the fray, right? Hey,
Alexei, we got to, we have to go to a hard break. I hate to cut you off. We'll post this online and we'll do as much as we can throughout the day. Thank you.
Thanks.